Hi everyone, my name's Alexa and I'm the Circulation and Reader Services Librarian at the Amherst Town Library. You've caught me at my home library, so I'm really excited that you're all here. Just so you know, we have an hour for this presentation, but it's really only 30 minutes, so we have plenty of time for questions, and if you have any, please ask them in the chat by selecting it from the bottom of your screen. All participants have been muted, so you can't talk, but you can put those right in the chat. Feel free to tweet at us using the hashtag ATL Book Talks. And thank you so much for joining us for our first ATL Book Talk. So today we will be talking about books that have been or will be released during the months of May and June. These books are all titles that staff at the library are excited to read, and we hope that you are too. Don't worry about taking any notes or remembering any titles. At the end of this book talk, all attendees will receive an email with a book list of all the books discussed, and they'll have links directly to the library catalog. Just a reminder that the publication dates listed in this book talk are subject to change, and they have been changing a lot because of the current pandemic. So even if the book has been published, that doesn't mean it's going to be available at the library right away, but you can definitely place your holds right away. All right, so let's jump in here. The first book we will be looking at, well, we're going to start with our May releases, and some of these might have already come out, so be sure to check the library's catalog ASAP and get your holds in. So the first book we're going to discuss is All Adults Here by Emma Straub. In this adult contemporary fiction book, a matriarch confronts the legacy of her parenting mistakes, with her adult children navigating respective challenges in high standards and immaturity, before a teen granddaughter makes the courageous decision to tell the truth. All Adults Here was released on May 4th, and the staff member excited for this release is me. I don't typically read a lot of contemporary fiction, but I've been trying to force myself to read outside of my comfort zone. This one's on my TBR, and I hope to read it soon. While you're waiting for this book, you can definitely try The Nest by Cynthia Dupree Sweeney. It is a very similar title, domestic fiction with flawed characters and a very moving story. Another book that I'm excited for this May is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This young adult contemporary novel in verse follows the experiences of two grieving sisters who navigate the loss of their father and the impact of his death on their relationship. Elizabeth Acevedo writes powerful and evocative stories, and I'm excited to get my hands on this one. This book was also released earlier this May, and I highly recommend listening to the audiobook. Because this book is written in verse, it's very powerful when listened to, and the author happens to read one of the characters, which provides an even added layer of dimension. This is great for people who like books with multiple perspectives and has culturally diverse and LGBTQ characters. We all need some fluff in our lives right now, and this women's fiction book is great to fill that void. Hello Summer by Mary Andrews is about an ambitious journalist who suddenly disappears and returns to her family's small town newspaper before witnessing a car accident that ends the life of a local war hero. This was also published earlier this May, and make sure to add it to your TBR because I know Carol and Tony already have. They're both looking forward to listening or reading this title. It's great if you like mysteries or women's lives and relationship stories. And another book you can try if you are interested in Hello Summer would be The Bookshop of Yesterdays by Amy Meyerson. Another release that Carol is excited for is Live in Love, Growing Together Through Life's Changes by Lauren Atkins. The wife of country music star Thomas Rhett shares the behind-the-scenes story of her complicated marriage to her childhood best friend, her life-changing missionary work with One Love International, and the adoption of their daughter from Uganda. Carol said that she had seen the author's interview for this title and it made her really want to read it, and maybe you should give it a shot too. Unfortunately, this title's publication date has been pushed from earlier this May until August. You can definitely go ahead and place a hold in the catalog, and while you wait, you should give Rising Strong by Brene Brown a shot. Fantasy romance has got to be one of my favorite genres. I know Raquel and I have very similar taste in books, and we're both excited for The Betrothed by Kiera. Declare the unexpected love of a commitment-resistant young prince, a nobleman's daughter is rapidly disillusioned by the outsized expectations of royal life before meeting a stranger with the mysterious power to see into her heart. This book is historical romance with court intrigue, and if you like books like this, you could try A Wicked Thing by Rhiannon Thomas, or you can go ahead and place a hold on this title. The next title is great for fans of Beatrice Williams or Elizabeth Strout. The Paris Hours by Elizabeth George follows the story of 4 individuals who share an extraordinary day in Paris between the wars, including a maid in possession of a lone surviving Marcel Proust manuscript and a lovesick artist who would repay an impossible debt through a partnership with Gertrude Stein. This historical fiction title is something Tony is looking forward to reading and was released earlier this May. What's really cool about this title is it's a 24-hour story, so the entire book takes place over 24 hours. It's supposed to be a really interesting read, and if you like historical fiction, you should definitely give it a shot. So I'm not the biggest memoir or autobiography reader, but this next title has really caught my eye. It's The Fixed Stars by Molly Weisenberg. Weisenberg is a best-selling memoirist, and in this story, she describes how, as a married woman with a toddler, she found herself drawn to a female attorney during jury duty and began to question her identity and desires and let go of ideals that no longer fit. This book is was set to be published on the 12th, and I hope this title has intrigued someone else as well. It's an autobiography memoir, and it deals with family relationships and LGBTQ themes, so you should definitely give it a shot. If you're interested in stories about self-made women, you should try The Self-Made Woman by Denise Chanterelle DuBois. The next title is What Lies Between Us by John Mars, and this is an adult thriller suspense novel and will be great for fans of Ruth Ware and J.P. Delaney. Nina can never forgive Mary for what she did, and she can never let her leave. They say every house has its secrets, and the house that Maggie and Nina have shared for so long is no different, except that these secrets are not buried in the past. This title was released last week. John Mars typically writes techno thrillers and thriller and suspense novels. If you are interested in stories about captivity in homes, you should try Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. And I know Raquel's excited for this title. I said that our readings interests were similar, but I'm not so sure with this one since I don't think I can read a scary book like this. This next one's an interesting one. What if Hillary Rodham had never married Bill Clinton? This fictional story, Rodham, is a novel of what might have been by Curtis Sittenfeld and follows Hillary Rodham as she takes a different path, blazing her own trail, one that unfolds in public as well as in private, and one that crosses paths again and again with Bill Clinton. This fictional tale is going to be released tomorrow. And is anyone else excited or intrigued by this? I'm a big fan of Curtis Sittenfeld's book, Eligible, so I'm really curious about this title. It's an alternative history, political fiction. I'm really curious about how an author was able to get kind of a fan fiction about a very high political figure published, and I think it's going to have a really interesting take and may be surprising to us. I am so excited for this next title. I actually just finished rereading the entire Hunger Games series in preparation. So, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins is a prequel set in the world of Pan Am 64 years before the events of the first Hunger Games novel. It begins on the morning of the reaping of the 10th Hunger Games. This young adult dystopian fiction is going to be released tomorrow, and you know that I will be reading it tomorrow no matter what. This is a dystopian fiction, fantasy fiction book with strong female characters, and it has great world building. If you are a fan of dystopian fiction and you haven't read the Ugly series by Scott Westerfeld, I would highly recommend it. Okay. Enough about the books that I'm excited for. Let's take a look at one of Carol's picks. A Week at the Shore by Barbara Delinsky. This adult women's fiction story follows a real estate photographer as she returns to her family's Rhode Island beach home after a 20-year estrangement. She must navigate painful family secrets that test her bonds with her sisters, while her 13-year-old daughter pursues desperately wanted family ties. This book is also set to come out tomorrow and promises to break your heart. This is a first-person narrative women's lives and relationships story, And if you like intricately plotted and nostalgic reads, you should definitely give this a shot. This next book is a lighthearted read. Suki is a gorgeous Bengal cat from Canada who isn't afraid of taking her tiny paws on big adventures. From the castles of Europe to the sunny shores of California, her travels prove that anyone can wander the world. If you like travel and cats, then this travel book is for you. Travels of Suki the Adventure Cat by Leanne Ingram will be released tomorrow, May 19th. There is another great title I found while looking for read-alikes called Adventure Cats by Lauren J. Moss. What it does in this book is it actually shows all the different types of travel cats throughout the world and features Suki a little bit. My boyfriend also follows Suki the Adventure Cat on Instagram, so if you like travel and cats, you should try that out too. Time for some romance. Raquel is excited for Ghosting, a Love Story by Tash Skilton. Dumped by his fiancée, Miles is couch surfing across New York City and has set up shop at a cafe and no longer believes in love until chill LA transplant Zoe walks into his life. If you enjoy adult contemporary romance, you should give this book a shot. It's going to come out on May 26th. If you can't wait for that, one of my favorite adult contemporary romance books is Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren, and that one's available digitally if you want to borrow it now. The fourth book in the Teddy Faye series is Bombshell by Stuart Woods. Teddy Faye is back in Hollywood. This former CIA operative turned movie producer becomes embroiled in two sticky situations involving a vengeful criminal thug and a malicious gossip that is overshadowing the career of a rising Centurion star. This Teddy Faye mystery novel will be coming out at the end of the month on May 26th. There's plenty of time to get caught up on the series if you're dedicated enough. This is great for people who like thrillers and suspense. It's action-packed and fast-paced. If you can't wait for this or don't want to start a new series, you could try Rogue by Mark Sullivan. We have now moved on to the June book releases. Does anyone have any questions or comments before I move on to these books? All right. So I'm going to take this time to remind everyone that with all these release dates, they are subject to change, but you can place holds anytime in the library catalog. If you have any questions while I'm talking, you can put them right in that chat box at the bottom, and we will address them at the end of the presentation. All right, so this first June release is set to come out on June 2nd. The Guest List by Lucy Foley is a mystery thriller that follows the story of an expertly planned celebrity wedding between a rising television star and an ambitious magazine publisher, and they are thrown into turmoil by petty jealousies, a college drinking game, the bride's ruined dress, and an untimely murder. This is a great book for people who like thrillers and suspense. It is creepy and menacing, and if you can't wait for this to come out, you can try Bring Me Back by B.A. Paris. Again, Raquel's pick, and I am regretting saying that we like the same types of books because I am not reading this either. It sounds terrifying. Well, this next book is a big difference from that last one. Amy and Tony are both very excited for this next release by Emily Giffin. The Lies That Bind is an adult women's fiction novel in which the protagonist forges an unlikely connection with a stranger at a bar who warns her against resuming a dysfunctional relationship. An aspiring reporter investigates when the man goes missing on September 11th, 2001. Emily Giffin typically writes mainstream fiction with complex, relatable, and fast-paced stories. If you like Emily Giffin books, you could also try Other People's House by Abby Waxman. I'm really intrigued by this title, especially with the September 11th twist. Those stories always have an interesting ending, so we'll see how it goes. I am dying for this final book in the Daevabad trilogy to be released. The Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty will complete this trilogy. Nari and Ali are determined to save both their city and their loved ones, but when Ali seeks support in his mother's homeland, he makes a discovery that threatens not only his relationship with Nari, but his very faith. My fantasy obsession continues with this book, and it will be released on June 11th. This is an adult fantasy novel, but it is great for young adult readers. It's a historical fantasy, so while the tale is fictional, it has a lot of historical elements and true facts about jinn and other mysterious Middle Eastern influenced fantasy characters. It has a lot of court intrigue and hidden heritage. It's just got everything. So if you like books like this, you could try The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin, or you could start with the first book in the David Bode trilogy. This next June release is set to be released on June 16th. Amy's excited for this women fiction novel, I Was Told It Would Get Easier by Abby Waxman. Stuck in a bus full of strangers, mother and daughter duo Jessica and Emily Bernstein watch their carefully mapped out college tour devolve into something they never expected in this hilarious and insightful new novel from the author of The Bookish Life of Nina Hill. This book is great for readers who enjoy mainstream fiction, likable characters, and heartwarming and sardonic stories. If you can't wait for this one, you could try some of Abby Waxman's other books or read One Day by David Nichols. Conquest by Sam Maggs is a middle grade novel, but I have included it on this list, 1, because I am so excited for it to be released, and 2, because it is really a book that brings the con experience to you. And where we are right now, we need anything that can help make you feel like you're a part of a community, and this is one of those books. I was actually fortunate enough to be able to get a pre-pub of this book, so I've already read it, and it is so cute and adorable and amazing, and you should really give it a shot. So Conquest is about twins, Kat and Alex. They are excited to be at the world's most popular comics convention, and they're even more excited to compete in The Quest, a huge scavenger hunt run by an anonymous organizer. The big prize, a chance to meet their favorite nerdy celebrity. I'm a huge nerd, and if you are too, you should give this a shot. This book comes out on June 23rd, and it's a really fun, quick read, and it's actually a debut novel by Sam Maggs. If you are nerdy like me, you could also give Geekarella by Ashley Poston a try. This next book is from New York Times bestselling author Jasmine Guillory, and she's back with another adult romance, Party of Two. Going against her better judgment, LA lawyer Olivia Monroe secretly starts dating a hotshot junior senator until their romance is made public and her life falls under intense media scrutiny, jeopardizing everything. This book is set to be released at the end of June, and I know I'll be adding it to my TBR pile. If you're interested in Party of Two, you should take a look at Guillory's other books, Royal Holiday or the Wedding Date series. This is African-American fiction with multicultural romances. It has likable characters and is very steamy. So if you're not a steamy romance reader, you should put this one to the side. If you are a steamy romance reader, you should also try A Princess in Theory by Alyssa Cole. Did you read and enjoy Get a Life by Chloe Brown? Well, coming out on June 23rd is Talia Hibbert's second book in this contemporary romance series, Take a Hint, Danny Brown. This follows Chloe's sister Danny as she agrees to fake date her friend after a video of him rescuing her from their office building goes viral. If you can't wait to get your hands on this book, you could try Would You Like to Meet by Rachel Winters. This is another contemporary romance. It is a fake relationship theme, which are always fun. It's another steamy romance, so you might need to take a break if you don't want to read them back to back. And as an own voices, so it's written by a Black author and they have Black characters. Our final book on today's talk is a psychological thriller by Riley Sager that Raquel is dying to read. Home Before Dark takes place 25 years after Maggie's father published a wildly popular nonfiction book based on her family's rushed exit from a haunted Victorian estate. Naysayer Maggie inherits the house and begins renovations, only to discover a number of disturbing things. This title comes out on June 30th, and if you can't wait for then, here's another horror book for you to try, The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. If you're looking for more reading recommendations, try out Novelist to get expert recommendations and more author and title read-alikes. All you need is your library card to start searching and find new books to read. You can also email us to get more reading or listening recommendations, and my email is going to be on the next slide and will also be provided in the follow-up email. Thank you all so much for joining us for our first ATL Book Talk. I knew I was going to talk too fast, and I did. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I'm happy to go back to any slides, restate anything, or answer any questions you have about other upcoming books.